Captain Olivia Harris stood on the bridge of the spaceship Horizon and looked at the stars. This was the first human ship to travel beyond the solar system. The journey had taken 5 years, but now they were finally here, in orbit around a planet no human had ever seen before. "Status report," she said, turning to face her crew. Lieutenant Commander John Miller looked up from his console. He was a tall man with short brown hair and a serious face. Before joining this mission, he had served in Earth's unified military for 15 years. "All systems normal, Captain. We're maintaining stable orbit. No signs of danger." Dr. Susan Rodriguez nodded in agreement. She was the ship's xenobiologist, responsible for studying any alien life they might find. "The atmosphere readings from the planet are fascinating. The air has more oxygen than Earth, and there are signs of complex plant life." Engineer Allen West was checking the ship's engines. His hands moved quickly over the controls as he worked. "The new drive system is cooling down nicely. We can start detailed scans of the planet whenever you're ready." "Good," Captain Harris said. "Grace, any unusual signals?" Communications specialist Grace Williams shook her head. Her job was to listen for any signs of intelligent life. "Nothing from the planet, but I am picking up something strange. It's coming from the 4th planet in this system." She pressed a button, and a sound filled the bridge. It was like nothing they had heard before, a series of tones that rose and fell in a clear pattern. John frowned. "That's not natural. Something made that signal." "I agree," Grace said. "It's repeating every 87 seconds. Captain Harris felt her heart beat faster. This could be it. First contact with alien life. After all these years of searching, humanity might finally have proof they were not alone. "Change course," she ordered. "Let's check out that 4th planet." The Horizon moved smoothly through space. As they approached the 4th planet, they saw it was larger than Earth, with swirling blue oceans and green continents. "I'm picking up artificial structures," John reported. "Big ones, looks like cities." "And ships," Grace added. "There are ships in orbit around the planet. They're moving toward us." Captain Harris stood up. "This is it, people. First, contact. Remember your training." Grace broadcast our greeting message on all frequencies. The message was simple: a series of mathematical equations followed by basic information about humans, all designed to show they came in peace. 3 alien ships approached. They were beautiful, shaped like silver leaves, moving with incredible grace. "They're scanning us," John said. "Our shields are holding." Grace's console beeped. "Captain, they're responding. I'm getting a transmission." A screen on the bridge lit up, showing an alien face. It had smooth blue skin, large purple eyes, and no visible nose. When it spoke, Grace's translation program worked to convert its words to English. "Unidentified vessel," the alien said. "You have entered Valhari. Space. Identify yourselves." Captain Harris stepped forward. "I am Captain Olivia Harris of the Earthship Horizon. We are explorers from the planet Earth, seeking peaceful contact with other intelligent species." The alien blinked slowly. "Earth? We have no record of this world or species. We are new to interstellar travel," Harris explained. "This is our first journey beyond our own solar system." This seemed to surprise the alien. It turned to speak with someone off-screen before facing them again. "You built an interstellar vessel with such primitive technology? Our scans show you are using simple fusion power and basic shield systems." Engineer West couldn't help but feel proud. "Simple? We spent 20 years developing that drive system." The alien made a gesture that might have been respect. "Then your species shows promise. I am Commander Zenthar of the Valhari Exploration Fleet. We welcome you to our system." Over the next few hours, the humans learned about the Valhari. They were an ancient species that had traveled among the stars for thousands of years. They were scientists and explorers who valued knowledge above all else. But as they talked, Captain Harris noticed something strange. "The Valhari seemed worried. They kept looking at screens showing a nearby star. Is something wrong?" she finally asked. Commander Zenthar was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Yes, Captain Harris. We face a grave threat. The star you see on our screens, it is dying. Soon it will explode in what you might call a supernova." Dr. Rodriguez frowned. "But that star is very close to your planet." "Yes," said Zenthar. "When it explodes, the energy will destroy our homeworld. We have less than 1 Earth year before this happens." "Can't you evacuate?" John asked. "We have too many people," Zenthar explained. "Billions live on our homeworld. Our ships can only save a small fraction. We have tried to find a solution for a century, but there is none." Captain Harris looked at the star on the screen. It was huge and angry-looking, with flares shooting from its surface. "What if you built a shield?" Engineer West asked suddenly. "Something to deflect the energy away from your planet?" Zenthar shook his head. "We have considered this. The energy required would be beyond anything we can generate. The shield would need to be enormous." West wasn't convinced. "Can I see your calculations?" The Valhari sent over their data, and the human engineers studied it carefully. After several hours, West called for a meeting. "They're right that a standard shield won't work," he said. "But what if we don't try to stop the energy? What if we redirect it instead?" He showed them a design for a series of satellites that could create an energy field around the planet. Instead of blocking the supernova's power, it would bend it, making it flow around the planet like water around a rock. The Valhari scientists were doubtful. "This would require thousands of satellites perfectly aligned. It would take decades to build." Captain Harris looked at her crew. They had come to this star system hoping to make first contact. Instead, they had found a civilization on the edge of destruction. "How long would it take with help from Earth?" she asked. "Even with your entire planet's resources, it would take years," Zenthar said. "We have less than 1. Harris stood up straight. "Send the data to Earth. Let our scientists look at it. If there's a way to build this system faster, we'll find it." "Why would you help us?" Zenthar asked. "You barely know us." Captain Harris smiled. "Because that's what humans do. We help when we can." "But this problem seems impossible," Zenthar said. Harris put her hand on the alien's shoulder. "Don't worry," she said with confidence that surprised even her crew. "We've got this." The Valhari looked confused by her words, but something in her voice made them listen. "When humans say, 'We've got this,'" Engineer West explained with a smile, "they sincerely mean it." The message from Captain Harris reached Earth 3 days later. The United Earth Coalition government called an emergency meeting as soon as they understood what was happening. Leaders from every nation gathered to discuss the Valhari problem. "Let me understand this correctly," said President Laura Clark. "Captain Harris promised an alien civilization that we would save their entire planet from a supernova, and we have less than a year to do it?" "Yes, Madam President," replied the science advisor. "But Captain Harris also sent us Engineer West's plans for a deflection array. It's actually quite brilliant." "Brilliant, but impossible to build in time," said another advisor. "We would need to construct thousands of satellites and position them perfectly around the Valhari homeworld." The room grew quiet as everyone considered the challenge. Then a man stood up from the back of the room. He was Dr. Paul Carter, a famous astrophysicist known for his unusual ideas. "What if we don't build thousands of individual satellites?" he asked. "What if we build one large structure that can split into separate units once it reaches the Valhari system?" People started talking all at once. President Clark raised her hand for silence. "Explain your idea, Dr. Carter." "We build the array in sections here on Earth and in orbit. Then we use our new faster-than-light technology to transport it to the Valhari system. Once there, it unfolds like a flower opening." Commander Diane Lewis, who had overseen many space construction projects, nodded slowly. "That could work. We would need every available worker and manufacturing plant, but it could work." "The resources required would be enormous," said Kevin, Wright, who coordinated Earth's raw materials. "We would need metals from every mine on Earth and the Moon. And a new power source," added Dr. Emma Davis, a physicist who had been developing experimental energy field technology. "The standard power cells won't be enough for this." President Clark looked around the room. "Can we do this? Can we really save an alien planet from destruction?" It will be the biggest project humanity has ever attempted, Commander Lewis said honestly. But yes, I believe we can do it. Then let's get started, the President decided. Send word to Captain Harris, tell her Earth accepts the challenge. Within a week, the project was underway. Factories around the world stopped making cars, computers, and home appliances. Instead, they began producing parts for the giant deflection array. Space stations that normally built satellites for communication were now creating sections of the massive structure. The Valhari sent some of their scientists to Earth to help. They were amazed by how quickly humans worked. Your technology is far behind ours, said Ambassador Zenthar as he watched workers assemble a power core. Yet you move with such speed and determination. That's how humans operate, said Dr. Davis, as she checked the energy readings. We work best when we have an impossible deadline. Not everyone on Earth supported the project. Some people protested, saying Earth's resources should be used to solve Earth's problems, not to help aliens. Others feared the Valhari might be tricking humans into building a weapon. Kevin Wright faced angry crowds as he claimed metal shipments from various countries. I understand your concerns, he told them. But think about what this means. We have a chance to save billions of lives and make our first interstellar allies. This is humanity's moment to show who we really are. Slowly, public opinion began to change. People around the world watched news reports about the project. They learned about the Valhari, saw pictures of their beautiful blue children, heard their music. The aliens became real to them, not just strange creatures from another world. Meanwhile, the Horizon remained in orbit around the Valhari homeworld. Captain Harris and her crew worked with Valhari scientists to prepare for the arrival of the deflection array. Your people are really doing this, Zenthar said to Harris one day. They were looking at images from Earth showing the massive construction efforts. When you said we've got this, I didn't truly believe you. I understand, Harris replied. It must seem crazy to trust your entire civilization to aliens you just met. It does, Zenthar admitted. The other species we know would never attempt something like this. They would calculate the odds of success, decide they were too low, and move on. Humans are different, Harris said. We don't always accept what the odds tell us. Back on Earth, problems kept appearing. A major earthquake destroyed a factory making crucial components. A solar storm damaged satellites needed for coordination. Protests turned violent in some areas, delaying shipments of materials. We're falling behind schedule, Commander Lewis reported during a high-level meeting. At this rate, we won't finish in time. Dr. Carter had been quiet during most of the meeting, drawing calculations on his tablet. Now he looked up. What if we change the design, make it simpler but more powerful? That would mean starting over, someone objected. Not starting over, Dr. Carter corrected. Evolving the design. We've learned a lot in the past 3 months. We can do better now. Dr. Davis nodded excitedly. I've been working on a new energy projection system. It could reduce the number of satellites we need by half. Can it be done in time? President Clark asked. It will be close, Commander Lewis admitted. But I think it's our best option. The President made her decision. Do it. And send another message to the Horizon. Tell them we're still on track. When Engineer West received the new designs, he smiled. This is even better than my original idea, he told Captain Harris. Earth is really pulling out all the stops. Did you expect anything less? Harris asked. No, West said. When humans say, we've got this, we sincerely mean it. As the new deadline approached, the first sections of the deflection array were ready for transport. Enormous ships built specifically for this mission, prepared to carry the technology to the Valhari system. It would be the first major test of Earth's faster-than-light technology. The whole world watched as the countdown began. President Clark made a brief speech. Today, humanity reaches beyond our solar system not for conquest or resources, but to save lives. Whatever happens next, I am proud of what we have accomplished together. The transport ships vanished in flashes of light, beginning their journey to the Valhari homeworld. Ambassador Zenthar stood beside Captain Harris as they waited for the ships to arrive. Your people have done more than we ever expected, he said. Even if this fails, we will remember Earth's effort forever. It won't fail, Harris said firmly. We've got this. The transport ships arrived at the Valhari homeworld with a flash of light. Earth's new faster-than-light technology had worked perfectly. Now came the hard part, assembling the giant deflection array in space before the dying star exploded. Captain, Harris watched from the horizon as the first sections were moved into position. Engineer West floated in space, directing workers in special suits as they connected large metal panels together. The first power core is online, West reported through his radio. We're at 10% capacity and holding steady. Dr. Rodriguez studied the star that threatened the Valhari. The star is getting more unstable, she warned. I'm seeing more solar flares than yesterday. How long do we have? Harris asked. Maybe 3 months instead of 4, Rodriguez answered. We need to work faster. The news spread quickly through the work crews. Humans and Valhari began working in longer shifts, racing against time. More ships arrived from Earth, bringing additional sections of the array and more workers. Other alien species had sent observers to watch the humans attempt the impossible. A group of tall, thin aliens called the Thraxians stood on their ship, looking at the construction with doubt in their eyes. The humans are brave but foolish, said the Thraxian leader to Ambassador Zenthar. Our scientists say this plan has less than 20% chance of success. You should still evacuate as many of your people as possible. Zenthar looked at the partially built array. Perhaps, but these humans have surprised us before. They approach problems differently than any species we have met. The Thraxian made a sound like laughter. Yes, they ignore the facts when they don't like them. That is not a good survival trait. As they spoke, alarms sounded throughout the construction area. A massive solar flare had erupted from the dying star, heading straight for them. Workers scrambled to get back to their ships before the radiation hit. All personnel, get to shelter. Immediately, Harris ordered through the communication system. Solar flare approaching. Estimated arrival in 6 minutes. But Engineer West and his team were too far from safety. They were working on a crucial power connector, and if they left it half-finished, it might be damaged beyond repair. We need 5 more minutes to secure this section, West reported. Then we can go. You don't have 5 minutes, Harris told him. Get out of there now. West looked at his team. Go, he told them. I'll finish this alone. Not happening, said one of his workers, a woman named Olivia Lee. We started this together, we'll finish it together. The rest of the team nodded in agreement. They worked furiously, connecting wires and sealing panels as the clock ticked down. The Valhari and Thraxian observers watched in disbelief. They will die, the Thraxian said. Maybe not, Zenthar replied. Look, a small ship was flying toward West's team. It was Dr. Rodriguez in a research vessel. She had modified the ship's shields to block more radiation. I can give you some protection, she said, as she positioned her ship between the workers and the approaching flare. But we have about 2 minutes before my shields fail. West's team worked even faster. With just seconds to spare, they secured the last connection and rushed into Rodriguez's ship. They barely made it to safety before the solar flare hit. The construction area was damaged, but not as badly as feared. The sections of the array that had already been assembled held together, but the power core West had been connecting was offline. We lost about 2 weeks of work, Commander Lewis reported after assessing the damage, and that was our main power core. Captain Harris called an emergency meeting with the Earth team and the Valhari leaders. We need a new plan, she said. The star is becoming unstable faster than predicted. Dr. Davis, who had arrived with the latest shipment from Earth, studied the data. What if we use the Valhari power systems to supplement ours? Their technology is more advanced. Our systems aren't compatible with yours, a Valhari engineer said. The energy types are different. Then we'll make them compatible, Davis insisted. Show me your power systems. The Valhari were reluctant at first as their technology was far more advanced and they worried humans might not understand it. But they had few options left. For 3 days, Dr. Davis worked with Valhari engineers to create an adapter that could connect their different power systems. She barely slept.
drinking cup after cup of coffee to stay awake. On the fourth day, she emerged from the laboratory with dark circles under her eyes, but a smile on her face. "I think we've got it," she announced, holding up a small device. "This converter should allow our systems to work together." They tested the converter on a small scale first. It worked perfectly, channeling Valhari power into the human-built array sections. Encouraged, they began building more converters. Meanwhile, representatives from other alien species continued to arrive. News had spread across this part of the galaxy about the humans trying to save the Valhari. Most came expecting to witness a spectacular failure. A group of reptilian aliens called the Keldari approached Captain Harris one day. "We have observed your efforts," their leader said. "It is impressive but ultimately futile. We have calculation models that show the array will fail when the star explodes." Harris smiled politely. "We appreciate your concern, but we're still confident in our plan." "Why?" asked the Keldari, genuinely confused. "The evidence suggests failure. Why continue when logic says you cannot succeed?" "Because humans don't give up just because something is difficult," Harris explained. "We find ways to overcome obstacles." "This is not about difficulty," the Keldari insisted. "This is about physical impossibility." Engineer West, who was passing by, stopped to join the conversation. "Many things seemed impossible until someone did them," he said. "The first humans who dreamed of flying were told it was impossible. The first scientists who suggested space travel were laughed at. Yet here we are, building a deflection array around an alien planet in another star system." The Keldari considered. "This. Your species has an unusual way of thinking." "Thank you," West replied with a grin. As the weeks passed, the array grew larger. With the combined power of human and Valhari technology, they were making progress faster than expected. The new deadline seemed possible to meet. Then disaster struck again. A supply ship from Earth was damaged during transit and veered off course, crashing into a completed section of the array. Both the ship and that section of the array were destroyed. Worse, 12 human workers and 5 Valhari engineers died in the accident. The mood turned somber. For the first time, some of the humans began to doubt whether they could finish in time. Captain Harris called all the human crew members together. "We've suffered a terrible loss," she said. "We will honor our fallen friends by completing what they helped start. We made a promise to the Valhari, and we will keep it." Lieutenant Commander Miller stepped forward. "Captain's right. When we said we've got this, we meant it. Now let's prove it." The work continued with renewed determination. The dying star loomed in the distance, a constant reminder of what was at stake. 2 months had passed since the first transport ships arrived from Earth. The deflection array was now 70% complete, forming a curved wall of interconnected satellites and power nodes around the side of the Valhari planet that faced the dying star. But time was running out faster than expected. Dr. Rodriguez floated in a small research ship, taking readings of the star. Her face was grim as she returned to the horizon. "The star's core is collapsing more rapidly now," she reported to Captain Harris. "We have 3 weeks at most before it goes supernova, not the 6 weeks we thought." Harris called an emergency meeting with Commander Lewis, Engineer West, Dr. Davis, and the Valhari leaders. "We need to speed up construction," Harris said. "Can we do it?" Commander Lewis shook her head. "Not with our current methods. We need at least 5 more weeks to finish the array." The room fell silent. They had come so far, but now it seemed they would fail after all. "What if we don't finish it?" Dr. Davis said suddenly. Everyone stared at her. "What do you mean?" asked Ambassador Zenthar. "What if we activate what we have now?" Davis explained. "The array is 70% complete. That's not enough to protect the entire planet, but it might shield the most populated areas." Engineer West pulled up a map of the Valhari world. "If we focus the deflection field on this side of the planet, we could protect about 60% of the population." "And what about the other 40%? Zenthar asked quietly. "We evacuate them," Harris said. "We use every available ship to move as many people as possible to the safe zone." The Valhari Council met to discuss the plan. They returned with their answer after a few hours.
We accept your proposal, Zenthar said. It is better to save some
than to lose all. The evacuation will begin immediately. The next days were filled with frantic activity. Construction crews worked around the clock to strengthen the partial array.
Transport ships began moving Valhari people from the exposed regions to the areas that would be protected by the deflection field. Lieutenant Commander Miller organized the evacuation efforts. We need more ships, he told Captain Harris. We can only move about 10,000 people per day with what we have. The Earth ships are all being used for construction, Harris replied, and the Valhari ships are already part of the evacuation. What about the observer ships? Miller suggested. There are dozens of alien vessels just watching us. Maybe they could help. Captain Harris went to speak with the representatives from other species who had come to witness the human effort. She addressed them in a large meeting room. The star will explode sooner than we expected, she explained. We need your help to evacuate Valhari citizens from the danger zones. The aliens looked at each other uncomfortably. A tall blue alien stepped forward. We came to observe, not to participate, he said. This is not our problem. So you came to watch people die? Harris asked, her voice sharp. Is that the kind of neighbors you are in this galaxy? The aliens began talking among themselves in their own languages. Finally, the Thraxian leader spoke up. The Thraxian Empire will provide 10 ships for evacuation purposes, he said. We do not wish to see the Valhari suffer. One by one, other species offered their help as well. Soon, over 50 new ships joined the evacuation effort. Miller quickly organized them into an efficient system, moving thousands more people each day. Meanwhile, Dr. Davis and Engineer West worked on improving the deflection field's power. They had an idea that might increase its strength without requiring more construction. If we reroute power through these nodes in a sequence rather than all at once, West explained to the Valhari engineers, we can create a pulse effect that should strengthen the field by 20%. But that would require precise timing, a Valhari engineer said. The control systems would need to be perfectly synchronized. We can do that, Davis assured him, but we'll need to rewrite the control program. They worked day and night on the new program. Dr. Davis fell asleep at her console several times, only to wake up and continue working. West barely left the main control station, eating quick meals while checking calculations. With just 5 days
remaining before the predicted supernova, they were ready to test the new program.
Captain Harris, Commander Lewis, and Ambassador Zenthar gathered in the control room to watch. Beginning test sequence now, West announced. The lights dimmed as power flowed into the array. On the monitors, they could see the deflection field shimmer into existence, a subtle blue glow around the planet. Power at 40%, Davis reported. 50%. 60%. A warning alarm sounded. One of the power nodes was overheating. Shut it down, Commander Lewis ordered. Not yet, West said, eyes fixed on the readings. We're almost there, 70%, 80%. The overheating node began to glow red on the monitor. 90%, Davis continued. 95%. With a flash, the overheating node burned out. The power level dropped immediately. Power stabilizing at 72%, Davis reported, disappointment clear in her voice. West sighed. It's not enough. We need at least 85% power to protect against the supernova.
Harris looked at the burnout node on the screen. Can we repair it? Yes, West said. But it will take at least 3 days, and we'd need to replace the other nodes that are showing strain before we try again. Then do it, Harris ordered.
We still have 5 days. As they left the control room, Ambassador Zenthar approached Captain Harris. The evacuation is proceeding, but slowly, he said. We will not be able to move everyone to the safe zones in time. Harris nodded grimly. Keep the evacuation going. We'll get the array working at full power. The next day, Engineer West and a team of workers went out to replace the damaged node. They were working as fast as they could when another alarm sounded. Throughout the construction area, multiple solar flares detected, Grace Williams reported from the horizon. Heading your way, West. You have 4 minutes to get to safety. West looked at the half-finished repair job. We need more time, he said. You don't have more time, Harris replied over the radio. Get back to the ship now. West thought for a moment. Then he said, "The rest of you go back. I'm staying to finish this." "That's an order, West," Harris said firmly. "Return to the ship." "With all due respect, Captain," West replied calmly. "This node has to be fixed. If I leave now, we lose 3 days we don't have. I can finish in 3 minutes if I work alone." Before Harris could argue further, Lieutenant Commander Miller's voice came over the radio. "I'm on my way to you, West. I can help you finish faster." "John, no," Harris protested. "We've got this, Captain," Miller responded. "Trust us." Harris watched helplessly from the horizon as her 2 senior officers raced against time to fix the crucial power node. Captain Harris held her breath as she watched Engineer West and Lieutenant Commander Miller work on the damaged power node. The solar flares were getting closer by the second. 2 minutes until radiation hits, Grace Williams reported from her station. On the screen, Harris could see the 2 men working quickly, their hands moving with practiced skill despite the danger. Miller held parts in place while West connected wires and sealed panels. "Almost there," West said through the radio. "Just need to reconnect the main power coupling." 1 minute remaining, Grace warned. Ambassador Zenthar stood beside Harris, watching the humans risk their lives. "Why do they do this?" he asked quietly. "They could die." "Because they gave their word," Harris replied, "and because billions of lives depend on it." 30 seconds, Grace said, her voice tense. "Got it," West exclaimed. "Power node is back online, starting retreat now." Harris watched as the 2 men pushed away from the node, using their suit thrusters to move toward the nearest ship. But they were too far away. "They won't make it in time," Dr. Rodriguez whispered. Just then, a small Valhari shuttle appeared, moving faster than any human ship could.
It positioned itself between the men and the incoming solar flares, extending a docking tube. "Get in," a Valhari voice ordered through the radio. West and Miller didn't hesitate. They entered the tube just as the first waves of radiation hit.
The Valhari ship's shields glowed bright blue under the assault, but they held. Moments later, the ship was moving away to safety. Harris let out the breath she had been holding. "Thank you," she said to Zenthar. "That was Captain Nelvar, one of our best pilots," Zenthar said. "He said he learned something from watching humans. Sometimes you must take risks to help others." With the repaired node back online, the team could continue their work on the deflection array. Over the next 3 days, they replaced the strained nodes and prepared for another test of the modified power system. "All personnel, prepare for full power test," Harris announced. "This is our last chance to get it right." The team gathered, once more in the control room. Dr. Davis sat at the main console with Engineer West nearby, both looking tired but determined. "Beginning power-up sequence," Davis said. "Current level at 30%. Everyone watched the monitors as power flowed through the array. The familiar blue glow appeared around the Valhari planet. 50%, Davis continued. 60%, 70%. The replaced nodes were holding steady, showing no signs of overheating. 80%, West reported. 85%. That was the minimum they needed, but they didn't stop there. 90%, Davis said. 95%. Everyone held their breath. 100% power achieved, Davis announced with a smile. The deflection field is at full strength. The control room erupted in cheers. Humans hugged each other and their
Valhari counterparts. They had done it, but the celebration was short-lived.
An alarm blared through the control room. "What's happening?" Harris asked. Dr. Rodriguez was looking at her instruments with a shocked expression. "The star," she said. "It's starting to collapse now. The supernova is beginning." "But we should have at least another day," West protested. "Well, the star isn't following our schedule," Rodriguez replied. "We have maybe an hour before the shockwave hits." Harris took charge immediately. "Alert all ships in the evacuation fleet to return to the safe zone. All personnel not needed to operate the array should move behind the deflection field." Zenthar was already sending messages to his people. "The last evacuation ships won't make it back in time," he reported grimly. "How many people are still out there?" Harris asked. 3 ships carrying about 15,000 Valhari, Zenthar replied. Harris made a quick decision. Tell them to head for deep space instead. Get as far from the star as possible. The Horizon. We'll go to help them. Commander Lewis looked shocked. Captain, if the Horizon leaves the protected zone when the supernova hits... I know the risks, Harris said. But I won't abandon those people. As the Horizon prepared to leave, Dr. Davis approached Harris. Captain, I should go with you. I might be able to boost your shields with the technology we developed for the array. Harris nodded. Get whatever you need. The Horizon departed quickly, racing to reach the 3 Valhari evacuation ships. They found them struggling to move away from the dying star, their engines not designed for deep space travel. This is Captain Harris of the Earthship Horizon. We're here to help. The Valhari ships were large but slow, carrying thousands of frightened civilians. The Horizon positioned itself behind them, using its more powerful engines to push them faster. The star is entering final collapse, Rodriguez reported from her station. We have maybe 20 minutes. Harris looked at the distance to the deflection field. We won't make it back in time. Then we keep going forward, Miller suggested. Take these ships as far from the blast as we can. They pushed the engines to their limits. Dr. Davis worked frantically to modify the Horizon shields, applying what they had learned from building the array. Back at the Valhari homeworld, the array operators watched the star begin to die. Its outer layers were falling inward, soon to create an explosion that would destroy everything in its path. Engineer West stayed behind to monitor the array's performance. Power levels still at 100%, he reported, but we don't know if that will be enough. Everyone waited anxiously as the star continued its collapse. Then, with a blinding flash, it exploded. The shockwave of energy raced outward in all directions, a wall of destruction moving at incredible speed. On the monitors, they watched as the wave approached the Valhari planet. When it hit the deflection field, the blue glow brightened to an almost painful intensity. Field holding at 98%, West reported. 95%, 90%. The numbers continued to drop as the full force of the supernova pressed against the human-made shield. 85%. 80%. If it dropped too low, the field would fail, and the planet would be destroyed. 75%, West said, his voice tense. The field was now visibly straining, patches flickering as the energy tried to push through. Then, remarkably, the numbers stopped falling. Power levels stabilizing at 75%, West announced. The field is holding. As the main force of the supernova passed around the protected planet, like water flowing around a rock, everyone began to breathe again. The Valhari homeworld was safe, but there was no word from the Horizon or the evacuation ships. Hours passed as they searched for any sign of the missing vessels. The Valhari sent out search ships, scanning for any trace of Captain Harris and the others. Then, just as hope was fading, a weak signal was detected. This is the Earthship Horizon, came Harris's tired voice, requesting assistance. Our engines are dead, but we're alive. The Horizon and all 3 Valhari ships had survived, though badly damaged. Dr. Davis's modified shields had protected them from the worst of the blast as they raced away from the explosion. When they finally returned to the Valhari homeworld, they found celebration everywhere. The humans were welcomed as heroes who had done the impossible. At a ceremony a week later, the Valhari Supreme Council presented Captain Harris and her crew with their highest honor. You came to us as strangers, Ambassador Zenthar said in his speech. When we faced extinction, you simply said, "We've got this." At first, we didn't understand what that meant. Now we do. It means that when humans make a promise, they keep it no matter the cost. Harris looked at her crew. West, Miller, Davis, Rodriguez, Williams, and all the others who had worked so hard. That's who we are, she said simply. When humans say, "We've got this," we sincerely mean it. The Valhari Supreme Leader stepped forward. Because of your help, we now offer ours. Your species has shown great potential despite your limited technology. We will share our knowledge with Earth to help humans reach the stars. As Harris looked up at the sky where the supernova had been, she thought about how far they had come. What had started as a simple exploration mission had turned into humanity's first step onto the galactic stage. "Thank you," she said to the Valhari leader. "This is just the beginning of what we can achieve together."